Hawk the Hunter. Hawk was enjoying his stay at Copley Hill. Shunting trucks and arranging rates with Gronk was fun. They would start the day with a few trucks, and as the goods trains came in, would have more and more to shunt about the sidings. When the snow came, the two engines worked hard to make sure everything ran to time. The other engines, like Scott the A3 Pacific, grumbled dreadfully. "It's hideous snow," he said to Sir Alf one day. Hawk was being cleaned nearby, and was listening eagerly. It was always fun to hear the big engines argue. "Yes, it looks pretty and all that," Scott continued, "but what good does it do?" "Well, I don't know myself," Sir Alf snorted, "but I find the snow dangerous for express runs. You can't go fast in the snow, you know." Hawk sighed and looked away. There wouldn't be any fun with them now. Later that same day, Hawk arranged a train of vans. They were old vans, covered wagons, and their heritage was clear with the large faded letters that read N.E. on their sides. N.E. stood for North Eastern, as in the former London and North Eastern Railway. They served as a reminder that it had been less than a decade since the railways of Great Britain had been united as one. Once Hawk had arranged the vans, he went to the water tower for a drink and a rest. When he returned to the siding a little later, he was surprised to find that the vans had gone. "That's funny," he said, looking around. "Gronk must have moved the train." And he went off to find Gronk. Gronk was being refuelled by the carriage works. He was tired. It had been a long day. The trucks had been particularly heavy, and his engine ticked over in a subdued manner. Hawk backed down next to him. "Did you move the old vans?" Hawk asked the tired Gronk. "No, I'm afraid I didn't," Gronk said. "I didn't have time to. I needed the rest." Hawk frowned. "But the train has gone," he said. "Was it due to leave today?" "No," Gronk said, looking anxious. "It was supposed to make up a portion of Herbert's pickup goods tomorrow." Hawk said. "I didn't move them. And you didn't move them. I think," he said, his eyebrows straightening, "that we have a thief in our midst." "Oh dear," Gronk said, sleepily. That evening, Hawk called a meeting. "So the van's just disappeared," Alan snorted. "Shunt some others instead. There's plenty about." "I'm not sure you understand, Alan," Hawk said. "If the thief takes one train, he could take another, and another, and another, until all of our vans have gone. Then what will he take? What's stopping him stealing one of your lovely coaches, for instance?" "Nothing," Stephen replied. "I think Hawk has made a good point, everyone. We must be vigilant and catch the thief." The other engines all agreed. The days passed, and no vans went missing again. Hawk was keeping an eye out, and the other engines were more wary of where the trains were left. Alan was quite amused by Hawk's vigilance. "Look at him," he chuckled to Stephen. "Anyone would think he was a hunter of some sort." One night, later that week, Hawk was resting alone in the yard. He was keeping an eye out while he was being refilled at the water tower. It was nearing midnight when he saw a large green locomotive enter the yard, shunting the missing vans back into their siding. Hawk was astounded, but kept quiet. The engine coupled up to another van, and, puffing away, disappeared into the night. Hawk told his driver when he returned, and his driver made a decision. "Right, lad, we're going hunting." Hawk was thrilled. His crew placed a single lamp on his front and rear buffer beams and called the signalman. When the signal for the junction dropped, Hawk puffed out of the yard and onto the main line. Hawk puffed carefully along the slow line. It was dark, and all the buildings of industrial Leeds seemed to tower over him in the dark. There was a shrieking whistle. An express freight blasted past him, chopping Hawk. "All right, lad," his driver said to him. "Keep going." Eventually, they reached a set of sidings, and Hawk whispered to his driver, "Look there! There's the engine." Hawk sidled up next to the engine, who was being rubbed down by his driver. "Hello," Hawk said cautiously. The engine replied in kind. "Would you mind telling me what you were doing with my van?" Hawk asked. The engine looked surprised. "Your van?" he said, amused. "I've been moving these back and forth for a few days now. We've been helping with the office move for the Copley Hill carriage works." "Oh," Hawk said, surprised. "Why are they using a Pacific like you for shunting work?" "I'm on my last legs before overhaul," the engine said. "I'll be heading off to Ardsley for repair in a few days, but they wanted to look me over and make me feel useful before my overhaul." Hawk quite understood about wanting to feel useful. "I'm Hawk," he said. "Why don't you join us in the shed tonight? It'll snow later on, and you don't have to be cold out here." And that's how Arthur came to be a member of Copley Hill. Sir Ralph remembered the time Arthur had rescued his express and put a kind word in for him. As another peppercorn-designed Pacific, there was of course some rivalry between Alan and Arthur, but that's another story. As for Hawk the hunter, he remained on guard all week, in case a real thief tried to take his vans. None did, but who would dare try now?